Hello everybody, welcome to the Redmen TV. My name is Ben Kelly, this is the Liverpool Development Watch. It's good to see all of your smiling faces. Another week has gone by full of loan and youth side action, so let's just get right into it. We're going to start with the title, yes, we're going to start with Divock Origi, who played 90 minutes for Wolfsburg on Friday versus Mainz, but was once again rather ineffective for the German side. Unfortunately, it's getting to the point now where he is having a very unsuccessful loan spell at Wolfsburg, and I'm afraid I'm starting to fear for his future at Liverpool quite drastically at the moment. I think I won't be surprised if he doesn't play for us again, purely because of the goals to games ratio that he's now starting to knock up. He scored 5 goals in 21 games, which is a total of 1,515 minutes, which equates to 1 goal every 303 minutes, which is quite frankly just very, very poor when you compare him to the other options that we have in our side at the moment. Even players like Flanagan, who I'll come on and talk about a little bit later, he's just not comparing himself and really showing that he's at the level that Liverpool want him to be. Again, for this season for Wolfsburg, he's played as the striker, he's played out wide, and they just haven't really found a way to get him ticking yet. And I'm really thinking that perhaps in the summer, Jurgen Klopp at this point will probably be thinking that it's time to move him on permanently. And fair enough, because Divock Origi, you know, he works hard, he's a good lad, but when you compare him to the other options, when you compare him to our front three and the other options that we have coming off the bench, you just think, nah, Divock isn't getting anywhere near our side at the moment, but it doesn't matter. We're going to move on to another player who is taking Germany by storm at the moment. It's Naby Keita. He's had an eventful week as he caused a mass 22-player brawl in an RB Leipzig game versus Frankfurt last Monday. Just a regular game, I suppose, with Naby Keita this season, given his disciplinary record. But he came on, he caught a player called Makoto Hazabi with a late challenge just before half-time, and basically this fella really didn't like it, so decided to push Naby Keita, and it resulted from all players from both sides getting involved and have a bit of a scrap. Moving on to the second half, came off injured with a thigh injury. Not sure how serious it is yet, but he was involved yesterday when they played Cologne, lost 2-1 at home yesterday, which is quite a big shock because I believe that Cologne are still bottom of the Bundesliga. So yeah, Naby Keita missing from that game yesterday, and that brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to our Keita countdown for this week. 124 days. It's getting closer. 124 just feels like a closer number. I know that is the case because it's a smaller number than all the other numbers I've brought to you before, because that's just how time works. But it just feels like we're getting a little bit closer now. In a couple of weeks, we'll be below the 100 mark, and we'll be really looking forward to July. Thanks, by the way, to Con Artist LFC for the new Keita countdown design. I really, really love it. Thank you very much, mate. Give him a follow on Twitter, like I say, at Con Artist LFC. That really helps us out. He does a lot of work for Redmen TV, and yeah, it'd be really good if you could give him a follow. But we'll move on. Ryan Kent and Markovic could have potentially played against each other yesterday, but basically neither of them got any time in the pitch. Kent got on the pitch for about 5 minutes and Markovic didn't play at all. It was actually quite a quiet week for him. He played in the week against Ipswich Town in a 1-0 win, but he only played in the first half before coming off at half-time. Is what's been described as a tactical change. So yeah, not much to report actually in that game. It was actually it was one that I was actually quite interested in, because it would have been good to see how they played against each other, but it just wasn't the case. It was one of those where neither player got that much time on the pitch. We're going to bring you an update regarding Harry Wilson. Now, I told you last week that he'd gone off with a shoulder injury against Chelsea. We all knew that. The update this week is that he's got ligament damage in his shoulder. I'm not exactly sure what this means yet. Nobody does, but it's looking like he could be facing a spell on the sidelines, which is a real shame. Like I say, he deserves time on the pitch. He was finally getting time on the pitch, and now he's had this setback. So hopefully it's not that long. Fingers crossed, like I say. Lars Markovic played some football. Finally, it must be about 6-7 months since Lars Markovic got any time on the pitch at any level. I remember him playing in a under-23s game against Spurs at Anfield in September. Since then, I've not seen him play any. There's been a couple of weeks of him settling in at Anderlecht out in Belgium, purely because they told him he was too fat to play, but clearly he's lost a bit of weight, and he got on for 20 minutes yesterday in their 5-3 win over Moose Gron. He did look a bit off the pace, understandably, but now he's got some time on the pitch. He will be looking to kick on and perhaps get a starting place in the side, get some more minutes, and maybe even revive his career. Who knows? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Baby steps, baby steps. And actually, while I'm talking about this game, another Liverpool loanee that I don't discuss because of time in the show and other reasons, including the fact that I can't say his name, Taiwo Iwaniyi. Scored in this game, so good for him. Anderlecht were 4-1 up, and Iwaniyi, I'm so sorry. Pulled the goal back and made it 4-1, and obviously that did kickstart a little bit of a revival for Moose Gron, so, you know, yeah. Good for him. Jay Ojo, on the other hand, was back in the Fulham squad and got 25 minutes on the pitch in a big 2-1 win over top of the league Wolves. Obviously, Fulham are involved in the playoff race at the moment, and it's actually quite good because we've got quite a few players now involved in the Championship playoff push. Obviously, we've got Ryan Kemp with Bristol, Marco Group with Cardiff City, who are second at the moment. They're looking like they're going to get an automatic promotion place rather. And also, you've got Jay Ojo, who's involved at Fulham, playing very well. He's had a small injury setback over the last few weeks, and now he's back in the side. Good for him to get some minutes on the pitch. Another notable contribution of the week was John Flanagan could finally get his Bolton debut. He came on for 20 minutes. He got himself booked, but he made quite a few tackles. He made 3 tackles in his 20-minute appearance, which I believe was the second highest from a Bolton player in the whole game. So, look, he's staking a claim to that right back position in that side. He's taking a claim to try and get some more minutes on the pitch. He's had a tough couple of months, John Flanagan, and now he's getting back on the pitch and doing what he does best, doing what he loves. So good for him. Now we're going to move on to the youth sides. Nathaniel Clyne is back playing football as well, ladies and gentlemen. What a relief this is to see. Obviously, he's been sidelined for so long with this back injury, and he's finally back playing football. He played 90 minutes for Neil Critchley's under-23s yesterday in a 4-0 win over Stoke City in the Premier League Cup. This win means that they qualify for the knockout stages of that competition. Dom Solanke got a hat-trick for the side. Really impressive, actually. Really good finishes from him. The other goal was scored by Bobby Adekanye, who's been playing for Steven Gerrard's side most of the season. He's one of them that's been promoted from the under-18s, the under-23s, due to his Neil Critchley's initial squad that he's had for most of this season being dismantled a little bit with loans, and Danny Ings playing for the first team a little bit more, and so on and so forth, and what have you. Speaking of Steven Gerrard's under-18 side, they played 2 matches this week, but the squads for both games couldn't have been any more different. On Wednesday, they beat Manchester United 2-0 in the UEFA Youth League. What a win. Always good to see Steven Gerrard getting one over Manchester United, particularly as Nicky Butt is in charge of that side for them. They progressed to the quarter-finals, where they now play Manchester City. This game was shown on BT Sport, actually. I didn't actually go because I was at home, week off university, so I was at home basically not paying for food, which is what university students strive to do. But it was on BT Sports, so I managed to watch the game. Liverpool were very good for long spells of the game. Dominated early on. The first goal was scored by Ben Woodburn. Good cross from Nico Williams, who I talked about last week on the Prospect Report, which is coming up, this week's edition, coming up a little bit later. Yeah, like I say, Ben Woodburn scored the second goal. Liverpool dominated the first half, really, for most of it. United came into a little bit more towards the end of the first half. They hit the bar. They got a very good player in the centre of their midfield, who I do not have my phone with me, but his name's Chong. I don't know his first name. He was the fella with the afro, for those who watched it or watched the highlights. He looked very good. In fact, I've got a couple of friends who are United fans, and basically they're saying that their fan base wants him to be involved in the first team picture a little bit more this season. That's how good he is, and he did show it. He's probably the best player for them. And in the second half, he had a lot more of an influence on the game, as did United. They came into it a lot more, looking like they were pushing for an equaliser, had a few chances. Kamil Grabara for Liverpool had a couple of shaky moments and provided them with a couple of opportunities. But Liverpool instead, in classic Steven Gerrard's under-18s fashion, got another goal, and it was Rafa Camacho with an absolute stunner that provided the security of a 2-goal cushion and ultimately pushed them on towards victory and the quarter-finals of that competition. Really good to see from them. Really good to see another win over Manchester United. Let's hope it's the same in a couple of weeks when we go to Old Trafford with the first team. They then face Wolves on Saturday night, and like I say, a whole host of academy players made the step up to Steven Gerrard's under-18s, rather than the usual under-18s bunch that we've been seeing for the majority of this season, and those that played against Manchester United on Wednesday. There were goals from Remy Savage and Jack Byrne, who, I'm not going to lie, I've never heard of before last night. I'm trying to do my research on them. I'm trying to learn about these players all the time, and I will be able to bring you a little bit of news and a little bit of information about them in the coming weeks. I tried to do a prospect report on one of them, but I literally couldn't find anything about them on the internet. But there's not even anything on the LFC website about either of these guys, so clearly they are very young players who are making their way up, and it's really good for them to be getting game time under Steven Gerrard at Liverpool. So instead of a prospect report on one of them, I'm going to bring you a prospect report on Rafa Camacho, who scored that great goal to hand Liverpool a victory in the UEFA Youth League on Wednesday. So here we go. He's Portuguese and is a Portuguese under-17 international. He's a winger primarily, but he can play anywhere across the front line, which is really encouraging, and versatility is good in any sort of position, really. He joined our academy aged 16 following a successful trial in 2015-16. He has 7 goals and and 4 assists in 22 appearances this season, which is actually quite a good return at any level really. And finally, he played the full match in the FA Cup youth tie versus Arsenal at Anfield. He was very, very good that day, even though Liverpool didn't really get fully going. He was one of the brighter players along with Curtis Jones, Liam Miller, those kinds of players that we've talked about before. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the prospect report, and that in turn is the end of the development watch for this week. Thank you very, very much for watching. You know what to do now, all the usual stuff. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter at bkelly776, and I will see you next week for another edition of the development watch. Goodbye.